Hello everyone, my name is Artsy and today I've got something extra special for you. This is my first ever published review of a product and I have to say it was something that I was very excited to try out. The future of gaming, combining the accuracy of a mouse and keyboard with the handheld comfort of a controller, or at least until VR becomes widely embraced. It's been advertised and available for a while now and I finally got my hands on one. The Steam controller. Advertised as having the most pinpoint accurate trackpads to date at a 1-to-1 ratio for scale, the Steam controller definitely delivered on the trackpads. Initially, I was off-put by them. The gentle vibration under my thumb, a strange and alien feeling to someone entirely used to the rubberized thumbsticks of the Xbox 360 gamepads. But after some getting used to, it's incredible being able to zip the mouse across the screen with the small flick of the thumb. And I say mouse, well, because in addition to being used as a controller for video games, the Steam controller can function as a mouse on your desktop windows. The B button acts as a spacebar, the back button a tab key. You can use the right trigger as a left click, the left trigger as a right click. The D-pad acts as a scroll wheel. Cycling clockwise will scroll down, counterclockwise will scroll up. Even the thumbstick has a use. In text boxes, moving it left and right will pan between letters, and pressing the thumbstick down will open up a keyboard on screen. But only if Steam is open itself, and it has quite a bit of input lag, making the controller rather useless on a standalone level. Big picture is where the controller has a true chance to shine. With almost all of the controller-enabled games on Steam, the controller's configurations are entirely customizable, allowing you a universal controls option or to edit on a game-to-game basis. In-game, the controller functions exceptionally, although there are a few downsides. Traditional gamepads featuring a thumbstick configuration use an infinite looping system. You hold right on the thumbstick and your character keeps looking or moving right until you stop holding it. This is where the trackpad has its downfall. Much like a mouse, unless your sensitivity is extremely high, you're going to be making several swipes before you make a full turn, and in critical moments this could make or break your experience. The button placement being on the inside is also rather tricky, as it makes reaching them somewhat awkward, and I consistently find myself hitting the wrong button trying to reach for them. This is where the rear grasping buttons come in handy. Defaultly, they're assigned to A on the left and X on the right, and while I originally didn't understand why they chose those two over something else, playing No Man's Sky with the controller really made me realize the clever design in place. The X and A buttons are the two that I most often find myself missing, instead hitting Y or B. This makes the rear buttons very comfortable and easily accessible in tough situations. First-person shooters do still feel very much comfortable playing with the Steam controller after you become used to the configuration, and after about 50 hours or so of testing it out, I do feel used to the configuration very much so, and replaying some of the original Mirror's Edge, because I haven't gotten around to purchasing Catalyst yet mostly, I really had a blast with the pad. Dragon Age 2 played exceedingly well, and while I've never been good at strategy games, the Steam controller worked surprisingly well, and as my grasp for the controls improved as I played, I found it to get better and better. The game lended itself much better to the controls than the first Dragon Age, and though I didn't get a chance to test Inquisition due to my laziness about buying it, I can only assume the controller works even better, especially since I was using an Origin copy of the game, and Origin is, well, rough with the controller compatibility to say the least, but more on that later. Audio Surf was a blast. Zipping down the music highway with the same control of a mouse but in the handheld format was a nice refreshment, and I found myself playing several songs, although it was tough to be good after not playing for a while and then coming back using a trackpad. However, that was all user error, not hardware difficulties. Magica was a pleasant experience, though I couldn't help but feel that it would have been better suited with the 360 gamepad due to the spell wheel being bound to the right thumbstick, and with the right trackpad acting as a mouse rather than having infinitely looping edges like gamepad thumbsticks, this meant that using spells would be a difficult task. I found eventually I had to move my thumb from the middle to the edge and then in the direction of the spell very quickly in order to actually cast the spell. I didn't play it long enough to find out if there was a bypass for the lack of infinite looping, but it is available for Steam, which means if you do enjoy Magica to begin with, unlike myself, you might have better luck with the controller and figuring out your own configurations. On casual games like Starbound, I found it really to be just as comfortable as a mouse and keyboard, if not more so. I didn't quite play Starbound for nearly as long as I should have attempted to, but that was out of sheer frustration at how bad I am at the game already, on top of playing with a somewhat alien device, although I could tell enough from the short time that I played with the controller that it is intuitive enough with some tweaking to do excellently with Starbound, and probably Terraria as well. Castle Crashers was an excellent adventure with the controller, and as I played casual game after casual game, I started to realize that this controller was suited specifically well for top-down strategy style games, single-player first-person shooters, and extremely casual games. Multiplayer first-person shooters seem to be at a double whammy loss due to the trackpad's sensitivity, which helps with accuracy but falls short on turning quickly. Although, if I wasn't trying to test multiple types of games all at once, I probably would have adjusted it to be more accurate myself if I intended to use it for competitive first-person shooters. But I still don't trust its accuracy quite that much yet. I only attempted to play one driving game with the controller, and though it was an awful attempt, I think that was more due to Need for Speed Most Wanted having terrible mapping for the Steam controller, whose buttons are mapped to mouse and keyboard settings instead of an actual gamepad in Origin, only further proving that this controller is almost exclusively useful for Steam rather than PC games as a whole. It seems that until the marketing feud between Valve's Steam and EA's Origin ends, and they come to a mutual support agreement, support for the Steam controller will be fairly limited. Overall, despite the flaws in support, I really enjoy using the Steam controller and would argue that if attempting to play multiplayer casual games like Castle Crashers on my PC with friends, I'll probably end up giving the 360 gamepad to my friends to use and use the Steam controller myself, just as I did as a child using consoles, giving myself the better controller and giving my guests the Mad Catz controller. I would strongly recommend it if you enjoy PC gaming with a controller, or if you have a home theater PC in your living room, or alternatively, if you've opted into getting a more expensive Steam Link or Steam Box. I'm going to give the Steam controller a 9 out of 10 above the Xbox 360 Afterglow gamepad that I have, which sits at a rough 7 out of 10. Valve continue to make excellent products, and I will continue to buy them. I'm thinking about purchasing the Steam Link next, so if I do, I will let you know, and there will be a review on that as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.